Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I'm back with another apartment renovation, and this is another part of my Color-Drenched series, where I am going through and creating apartments strongly based off of a single color. And today we are decorating with the color orange. I have done an orange apartment in this series before, but it was over a year ago, and we recently got a ton of new orange items with the mudroom kit that just came out. So I wanted to experiment with those a little bit and just see what new orange items we've gotten over the last year. So I really hope you will enjoy this one. If you do and you'd like to download it for yourself, it is available right now in the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You could also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will be in the description down below as well. So this is just a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, and the floor plan came together pretty quickly. We have an entryway, which I used a lot of the mudroom items in, and I used some of them in the living room as well. I really wanted to use this open shelving. I also used the dresser as sort of a TV stand, and I considered having the cabinetry in the kitchen, but it wasn't the same color orange as the countertops I wanted to use, so I didn't end up doing that. But I do want to experiment more with using some of the cabinetry from this pack in kitchens. I did it a little bit the day it came out, or a couple of days afterwards. I created an apartment using some of the new items, and I will probably continue to do that. Also in the kitchen here, I really wasn't sure on the layout, and right now I had the living room a lot closer to the kitchen than I end up keeping it in the end, so I decided to have a mini fridge at first, but I will be actually changing to a full-size fridge and kind of rearranging the kitchen, because the original thought was to have a dining table over on the other side of the couch, but then I ended up putting it in the kitchen anyway, and I just had all this extra space, so I moved everything over and it worked a lot better. And then when it comes to having a light over the dining table, my first thought was to use this orange light from the Cozy Kitsch kit. There's a lot of orange in that kit as well, but it's very much not the same orange as the rest of the items I was using, and it kind of clashed a little bit. So I did get rid of that, and I used this one instead, which I think is from For Rent. I think it is so pretty, and this is where I am starting to rearrange the kitchen a little bit so that I can fit in the fridge, which is the perfect shade of orange. I was really happy with it. This one is from, I believe, Growing Together. And then I just got a little rug to stand on while you do dishes. I very quickly figured out the accent color in here was going to be blue. It is in the rug and in the pillows on the couches that I chose. So I brought that in with the rug in the kitchen. And I felt like everything was a little bit too matchy-matchy with the wood tones, so I went for a darker coffee table. It's also from Cozy Kitsch. And then I have a couple of decorations under the TV, including the new tiny plant from the Grange mudroom kit. I just think it is so cute. I love tiny plants like that, and I also really enjoy that shelf that is above the chair that has a couple of prints and a little plant on it as well. And then I'm just using some base game curtains over in the corner here, and I layered them with the curtain rods that came with Desert Luxe, and I thought that that looked really nice. For some reason, they didn't feel super base game to me. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I've never used the orange swatch. Anyway, we are back in the kitchen now because I didn't actually clutter it up before. I just put a plant on the counter and that was it. So I did get some like fruits and vegetables in here. There's also a coffee maker and our cutting boards, some spices, all sorts of things in here, and a little rack to dry your dishes on as well. I originally had a different one when I had the mini fridge over on the other side of the room, but I thought that this one worked a little bit better here, and I ended up actually having it in a brown instead of an orange, because something I always try to do with these color-drenched builds is to primarily use one color, but I don't want it to feel like the only reason I picked an item was because it was that color. I try to make it look nice and not just like I'm trying to put every orange item in the game in here. So hopefully that comes across in this build and all of my others. And speaking of which, I've done a lot of these color-drenched apartments, so if you'd like to see them, there is a playlist of all of them that I will have linked in the description. But as I work on the artwork on the wall behind the couch here, I wanted to mention that it looks like we're getting a trailer this week for the next expansion pack. There was an announcement by The Sims, like a teaser trailer, saying there's going to be a full announcement on September 4th, and it looks like there's archery and kayaks, which is very interesting, and I'm excited to hear more about it, and I would love to know what y'all are thinking. I'm always happy to get new content, even if it's not like my exact cup of tea. Like, I was excited about fairies, but it wasn't something that I was begging for, and I actually find a lot of the items pretty hard to use, especially the more like swirly patterned things. So I'm hoping that this pack will have some more useful items. Either way, I will have a trailer reaction up on the channel on Thursday, and I'm sure whenever it comes out, I will have lots of content out with that as well. But anyway, here is the entryway that I'm starting to work on now, using a lot of the mudroom items. I did consider using the mirror in here, but I decided I prefer to have the hooks and the overhead cabinetry instead. I just thought it made a lot more sense, although I do really like that mirror, and I can see myself using it a lot in future builds. I did include a different full-length mirror in here, a place to hang up your keys. We have the new like little purse item, some Converse, some unopened mail. I just tried to really fill up this space and make it feel realistic for an entryway. And I also added some additional shoes and a umbrella rack that came with seasons, I'm pretty sure, in here as well. And that's pretty much it for the entryway. It's a very simple little room, but it did get to use quite a few of the new orange swatched items from Grange Mudroom, which was always just something that's exciting, using new items. That just came out. It feels so fresh and new, and we're already getting an EP trailer this week. So just so much is happening. I feel like there's so much content coming out for The Sims currently, which I guess makes sense. We're heading into the end of the year where there's always stuff happening around the holidays. So that should be pretty exciting. Anyway, back to this build in the living room. This little corner I turned into sort of an office nook. So I have a bookcase over here, and there's also a desk with a laptop, and I basically cluttered it up with a bunch of items from the Comfy Gamer kit. They're just perfect for this sort of space. And I used some of the more neutral swatches that weren't too gamer heavy, and I just think it looks really nice. And then this little corner felt like it needed something, so I ended up putting an ottoman with a couple of pillows on it and this tapestry from Horse Ranch. I thought the colors were kind of nice here. They have like an orangey pink tone to them, and the ottoman itself, I picked a blue one since that was the accent color I sort of decided on earlier on. But that should be pretty much it for the living room, other than decorating this bookcase and then the shelving units that I placed in the little hallway space that lead you into the bedroom and the bathroom, which actually took quite a long time to decorate because there's so much space on them. I did want to use some of the new baskets, but most of the clutter that I put up here is actually not from the kit. I just used the shelving. So grabbing a ton of items to put up here, I end up having a record player, like lots of boxes for storage, and a ton of other stuff. So just grabbing everything out now and then going to be placing all of that and trying to make it look as organic and realistically placed as possible. And this red shelf that I'm using is just a piece of CC I use sometimes to help me place things more precisely. I don't leave it in the build, so this is not going to have any CC included, but it is something that I sometimes use, and I don't always, but today I was. Anyway, that is pretty much it for the shelf. I have lots of boxes and board games. There's some plants, and I'm going to get a couple more books here on the lower level, and I decided to stack a couple of these baskets instead. And then we should be heading on into the bedroom. Yes. So in here, I decided to use this bed from Seasons, and then I'm using the same curtains that I used in the other room from Base Game. And I'm actually going to take the dresser from the latest kit and put it backwards behind the bed as a headboard. I thought that this was kind of a fun idea because then I could put some items on top of it. And I used some of the new wardrobes that are like full length, like floor to ceiling wardrobes from the Grange Mudroom kit in here as well. So those do function as a wardrobe. And then up above the bed, I have some extra hooks that are from a like little shelf piece from Eco Lifestyle. And then I'm just cluttering up behind the bed. I think this room ends up being so cute in the end. It has a little bit of a like retro vibe with the rug that I chose from Get Famous. But in general, I think it matches really nicely with the rest of the apartment. I guess the whole thing kind of has that vibe because the rug in the living room also feels that way. I think this one is a little bit more in your face, but I do really like both of the rugs. And I think the bedroom just ends up being so cozy in the end. It's probably one of my favorite bedrooms I've decorated in a while. There's just something about the color scheme and the retro vibes in here. I just want to like curl up, read a book, listen to some music. I really enjoyed this room. But just cluttering up the bedside table now, which is just a little stool item from Cozy Kitch. I have a place to put your glasses and your watch. There's also a alarm clock over there. And then over on this side, since I have these standing wardrobes, I decided I didn't need to have a dresser. So I decided to just put a console table over here with a TV above it with a little like stereo and a place to put a jewelry box. and then a couple of frames on the wall. So if you want to have some photos of your Sims or photos they took, there is a place to display that. And then finally, heading on into the bathroom, I am using the standing shower from the sleek bathroom kit, but the rest of the items are not from there. And I used this really fun orange tile on the floor. I want to say that's from Riviera Retreat. I might be wrong on that though. And then I thought about using the cabinet above the toilet, but I ended up going with the open shelving from Tiny Living instead. And I have these gorgeous orange towels from the Fitness Stuff pack, plus a couple of robes and some shower accessories. But that is it for this build. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And a massive thank you to my YouTube members for your continued support. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can click the join button below the video or the link in the description. Enjoy the screenshots, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye everyone.